Hello, everyone. Welcome to your weekly tech update, the show that explores the newest, coolest, and sometimes mind-boggling side of tech available on the interwebs. I'm your host, Ray McNeil. Coming up on the program today, CEO Tim Sweeney from Epic Games says the Apple fight is about basic freedoms of all consumers and developers. If you missed Steve Wozniak's star-studded 70th birthday bash, not to fear. You can check out the full 2 hour plus event online. And of course, we'll wrap up the program with this week's Moment of Joy. All that and a whole lot more coming up on today's edition of your weekly tech update. Next. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney has issued a series of public comments on his personal Twitter account regarding the legal fight the Fortnite creator initiated with Apple following the iPhone maker's removal of the game from the App Store. In the four-part thread, Sweeney says the fight isn't about money. Rather, he says Epic is fighting for the basic freedoms of all consumers and developers. At the most basic level, we're fighting for the freedom of people who bought smartphones to install apps from sources of their choosing, the freedom for creators of apps to distribute them as they choose, and the freedom of both groups to do business directly, Sweeney tweeted. The primary opposing argument is smartphone makers can do whatever they want. This is an awful notion. We have rights, and we need to fight to defend our rights against whoever would deny them. Epic orchestrated a calculated public performance designed to highlight what it claims are Apple's alleged monopolistic practices. Epic takes issue with Apple's operation of the App Store and the rules that bar developers from using third-party payment systems that bypass the marketplace's standard 30% cut, as well as restrictions banning developers from distributing software directly to consumers. The feud began when the game developer implemented its own payment system into the iOS and Android versions of Fortnite. When Apple and then later Google removed the app for violating its developer guidelines, Epic launched an explosive social media campaign under the banner hashtag Free Fortnite, complete with a 62-page legal complaint and lawsuit, in addition to a video that parodied Apple's iconic 1984 Macintosh ad that went live on YouTube and played inside the world of Fortnite itself as well. Impossible Foods has raised $200 million more for its meat replacements. The new round was led by Coatue, a technology-focused hedge fund. Another New York-based hedge fund, XN, also participated in the round. Since it launched, the company has raised $1.5 billion from investors. That includes Marie Asset Global Investments and Temasek. The presence of these new public-private investment firms on Impossible Foods' cap table could mean that the company is readying itself for an initial public offering, but that's just speculation for now. Impossible previously raised money from investment firms including Horizon Ventures and Colsa Ventures, as well as some of the biggest celebrities in the U.S. like Jay Brown, Common, Kirk Cousins, Paul George, Peter Jackson, Jay-Z, and many more. The most recent price per share is $16.15, an up round from Series F at $15.41, according to Prime Unicorn. The company said it would use the funding to increase its research and development efforts and work on new products like pork, steak, and even milk, as well as expand its internationalization efforts and build out its manufacturing capacity. The use of animals to make food is the most destructive technology on Earth, a leading driver of climate change and the primary cause of a catastrophic global collapse of wildlife populations and biodiversity. That comes from the incredibly credentialed Dr. Patrick O. Brown. He's an MD, PhD, and CEO, and, of course, founder of Impossible Foods. Impossible Foods' mission is to replace that archaic system by making the most delicious, nutritious, and sustainable meats in the world directly from plants. To do that, Impossible Foods needs to sustain our exponential growth in production and sales and invest significantly in R&D. Our investors believe in our mission to transform the global food system, and they recognize an extraordinary economic opportunity. When an early sealed copy of Super Mario Bros. Sold at auction recently for $114,000, it set a new record for the public sale price of an individual game. Months earlier, however, an investment platform had quietly paid $140,000 in a private sale for an early copy of the game that's in pristine condition. Now, the company is already planning to turn a profit by selling ownership shares in the game worth $150,000 next week. Billing itself as the stock market of collectibles, Rally has since 2016 made a business out of buying rare cars, watches, books, and comics, even sports cards, and a whole lot more, and then selling ownership shares in those assets to the public. So instead of buying the entire game worth $140,000, well, you can spend $100 and get a tiny little slice. The value of those shares then floats on Rally's marketplace, depending on market expectations for its eventual sale price. Rally's copy of Super Mario Bros., a sealed 1987 Hang Tab edition, rated at a near perfect 9.8 A+ by Wata Games, is Rally's first foray into the collectible video game market. That's a move Rally VP of Operations Fitz Tepper says was a natural progression for us. Over the last year or so, we've heard from our members and have observed the industry grow. And it's clear that there is a community that believes in both the financial and emotional value of these games and wants access to invest in them. We've seen this demand from asset classes already on the platform, like sports memorabilia, trading cards, or collector cars, and are now thrilled to add video games to that list. Tepper says Rally sourced this particular copy of the game from a private collector who had essentially made an early bet on the potential future significance of this item, had it stored for many years in a safety deposit box, and recently, as the market began to develop, decided to get it graded and eventually sell it to Rally. That means the previous owner had been sitting on this rarity since well before a $100,000 Super Mario Bros. Sale in 2019 set off a small boom in sealed game valuations. Details on the box place Rally's copy of Super Mario Bros. In the fifth known distinct edition of the original game, dating its production to early 1987. That suggests it was produced in much higher quantities than the earliest sticker-sealed copies of the game, which were sold without shrink wrap only in early test markets in late 85 and early 86. While some collectors see an unsustainable bubble when it comes to sealed game pricing, Tepper is more focused on the overall increase in attention coming to the market. I think the market is just starting to break into the mainstream, he said. While the collector video game market is still pretty small, these assets resonate with a huge portion of our population. As people who grew up playing these games begin to see them as investments, I think it has the potential to help the market really grow.